The bells tolled over Rome with an eerie weight, echoing through the centuries-old stones of the Vatican like a heartbeat fading into silence. Pope Francis is dead. The man who once sat on the throne of St. Peter, who led over 1 billion Catholics across the world, now lies still. The white cassock is empty. The fisherman's ring will be broken, literally crushed, a symbol that his reign has ended. And now, the battle begins. Not the kind fought with swords or guns, but one even more ancient. One soaked in centuries of secrecy, ritual and power. One that unfolds behind closed doors in whispers and in prayers, beneath the gaze of saints and the ghosts of popes past. You see, when a pope dies, the world mourns. But the Vatican prepares for war, a holy war of politics, of ideologies clashing beneath the Sistine ceiling, of bishops turned kingmakers, and alliances sealed not in ink, but in incense and influence. This isn't just religion, it's theatre, it's diplomacy. It's the last monarchy on earth, still chosen by divine drama. And when the white smoke rises, it signals not just a new shepherd, but the conclusion of a spiritual chess match that stretches across continents. Welcome to the Griot Chronicles, where we don't just tell history, we resurrect it. In this episode, we pull back the velvet curtain on one of the most mysterious and powerful rituals in the modern world, the selection of a new pope. We'll journey through centuries of sacred power plays, dark rivalries, backroom deals, and we'll uncover how the recent hit film Conclave mirrors the very real tension of what's unfolding now. So hit subscribe, grab your rosary or your popcorn, and step inside the conclave. Because this is the war to choose God's next representative on earth. Chapter 1. The death of Pope Francis. Pope Francis passed away on April 21, 2025, at the age of 88, marking the end of a transformative papacy that began in 2013. His tenure was characterized by a commitment to humility, inclusivity, and a focus on the pastoral role of the Church. In a departure from centuries of tradition, Pope Francis expressed his desire to be buried in the Basilica of St. Mary Major in Rome rather than the Vatican grottos beneath St. Peter's Basilica. This basilica held personal significance for him. He frequently visited it to pray before the icon of the Virgin Mary, known as Salus Populi Romani. The Pope chose a simple zinc-lined wooden casket for his burial, foregoing the traditional triple coffin arrangement, reflecting his emphasis on modesty and pastoral service. Following Pope Francis's death, the Catholic Church has entered a period known as sede vacante, during which the papal seat is vacant. The College of Cardinals is responsible for electing a new pope through a conclave, a process steeped in tradition and secrecy. The conclave is scheduled to begin between May 6th and May 12th, 2025, adhering to the requirement that it starts 15 to 20 days after the papacy becomes vacant. Out of 252 cardinals, 135 are under the age of 80 and thus eligible to vote. Notably, 108 of these were appointed by Pope Francis, potentially influencing the direction of the Church's future leadership. The conclave takes place in the Sistine Chapel, where cardinals are sequestered without external communication. They cast secret ballots up to 4 times daily, requiring a 2/3 majority to elect the new pope. The outcome of each vote is signalled by smoke black for no decision, white for a successful election. As both the Dean and Vice Dean of the College of Cardinals are over 80 and ineligible to vote, Cardinal Pietro Parolin, the most senior cardinal bishop under 80, is expected to preside over the conclave. Now the question remains, who will succeed Pope Francis? While any baptized male Catholic is technically eligible for election, the papacy has traditionally been held by a cardinal. Among the potential candidates are Cardinal Pietro Parolin, the Vatican Secretary of State, known for his diplomatic experience; Cardinal Peter Erdo, a conservative figure from Hungary; Cardinal Luis Antonio Tagle, a progressive voice from the Philippines, and Cardinal Matteo Maria Zuppi, an Italian prelate noted for his inclusive approach. Chapter 2, Locked in with God, or politics. Behind the grandeur of the Vatican, the conclave is the ultimate hidden arena of power. Roughly 135 cardinals under the age of 80, 108 appointed by Francis himself, will soon convene to elect his successor, each swearing a vow of absolute secrecy and surrendering phones, laptops, and even watches to prevent any outside influence. The ritual begins in the Apostolic Palace, where both the papal apartments and the adjoining Vatican offices are sealed. Bolts, wax and red sealing cords binding doors shut in a scene reminiscent of the Oscar-nominated film Conclave. From there, the cardinal electors are escorted into the Sistine Chapel, where Michelangelo's frescoes bear silent witness to the unfolding political drama. Each day at dawn and dusk, ballots are cast in strict confidentiality. After every round, the ballots are burnt on a small stove inside the chapel, the result encoded in the colour of the rising smoke, black for no decision and white for habemus papam, a signal relayed to millions watching anxiously in St. Peter's Square and around the globe. In this secluded conclave, theology intertwines with strategy, geographical blocks spar with ideological factions, traditionalists clash with reformers, and the weight of Francis's legacy eclipses every debate. Outside, the world waits, praying, speculating, and seeking signs in clouds of smoke that drift over ancient walls where faith and politics wage their most secret war. Chapter 3, The History of Papal Power Struggles. For much of the Middle Ages and Renaissance, papal elections were notorious marketplaces. Cardinals openly bought and sold votes through simony, bribery, and promises of lucrative benefices. The 1492 conclave that elevated Rodrigo Borgia as Alexander VI remains the most infamous example. He reportedly financed entire voting blocks with vast sums and church appointments, prompting Pope Julius II to outlaw simoniacal elections in 1503. Just a century earlier, the Western Schism from 1378 to 1417 plunged Christendom into chaos, as rival factions in Rome, Avignon and Pisa each elected their own pope. Three claimants ruling simultaneously fractured along national and political lines. This schism, born of factionalism and foreign influence, was only healed by the Council of Constance, which deposed or accepted resignations from all claimants before electing Martin V. Meanwhile, the Medici family turned the papacy into a dynastic prize. Leo X, from 1513 to 1521, born Giovanni de' Medici, plundered the Vatican's coffers for art, architecture and patronage of relatives, epitomizing nepotism so rampant that nepotism derives from the Latin nepos, meaning nephew. The excesses of Alexander VI's Borgia and Leo X's Medici prompted subsequent popes to tighten conclave rules, yet their legacies linger in the very design of the Sistine Chapel's sealed voting protocols. Even today, modern conclave reforms, from Pope Nicholas II's 1059 decree vesting election rights in cardinals to the 1996 Apostolic Constitution Universi Dominici Gregis, bear the scars of past abuses, reminding electors that the struggle for the fisherman's ring has always been more than a devotional ceremony. Inside the sealed conclave, two main camps vie for influence: conservative traditionalists who resist Francis's social reforms, and progressive reformers determined to carry forward his legacy of inclusivity and outreach. Among these so-called whisper networks of senior cardinals, both voting members under 80 and non-voting elders, shape pre-conclave discussions in the Vatican's corridors, offering subtle sway through back-channel endorsements and discreet counsel. Geography also matters. European curial cardinals often align with doctrinal conservatives, while global South electors from Africa, Asia and Latin America tend to champion pastoral outreach and emphasize the needs of growing Catholic communities outside the West. This dynamic, sets the stage for complex vote trading, support in exchange for future appointments or policy concessions. Beyond the official ballots, quiet campaigns unfold through private receptions and encounters in the Apostolic Palace, where potential successors such as Cardinal Pietro Parolin, Cardinal Luis Antonio Tagle and Cardinal Peter Erdo, are discreetly evaluated by peers and power brokers alike. While no public polling exists, insider observers track subtle shifts in alliances, noting that the final decision may hinge on just a handful of swing voters weighing doctrinal fidelity against pastoral compassion. The whole process really is a high-stakes chess game, where every move, every whispered promise, and every alliance could tip the scales in choosing the next leader of the Catholic Church. In the end, this is not merely a spiritual rite. It's a high-stakes chess game where each red-robed elector balances conscience, ideology and legacy, striving to shape the future of a global institution that has always been as political as it is sacred. Now, when we look at the way the movie portrays the conclave, we see a fascinating blend of fiction and reality coming together. It's, well, really intriguing how the filmmakers managed to capture the gravity and complexity of the papal election process. Conclave, directed by Edward Berger and based on Robert Harris's novel, has been lauded for capturing the procedural essentials of a papal election. Historians praise its meticulous recreation of secret voting, sworn oaths, and emotional highs and lows inside the Sistine Chapel. And it's quite remarkable how these details help us understand the real factions and tensions at play within those sacred walls. Critics note how the film's characters, ranging from a conservative European cardinal to a reform-minded African prelate, reflect the real factions within the College of Cardinals. While Conclave introduces dramatic embellishments, like a surprise cardinal's covert entry and a staged bombing, experts agree it rings true in spirit. Ralph Fiennes' portrayal of Cardinal Lawrence denying personal ambition, even as he schemes behind the scenes, mirrors accounts from actual electors. Director Edward Berger himself has acknowledged that, honestly, the film's power lies in balancing solemn ritual with honest glimpses of human frailty, just as real conclaves blend devotion with, well, dog-eat-dog politics. The film's production design, vaulted ceilings, flickering candlelight, and whispering corridors underscores Vatican secrecy. Critics like Mark Kermode commend its respectful yet unflinching look at how cardinals cloak ambition in piety, capturing the tension between spiritual duty and institutional survival. Even the ensemble cast has noted how Conclave feels like a direct echo of today's headlines where power plays lurk beneath holy vestments. In the wake of Pope Francis's passing, the Church finds itself at a crossroads, caught between progressives who yearn for more sweeping reforms and conservatives who fear a drift away from established doctrine. Many observers, argue that the next pope will need to strike a delicate balance, continuing Francis's pastoral focus on migrants, the environment and social justice, while also navigating the Church's shifting geopolitical landscape. This means grappling with declining attendance in the West, even as the faith experiences remarkable growth across Africa and Asia. It's no wonder, then, that someone like Cardinal Tagle, who is seen as adept at bridging these worlds, is being talked about as a leading compromise candidate. Still, Francis's own approach, choosing mercy over confrontation on divisive issues, leaves us with a pressing question. Should the next pontiff be, above all, a unifier, or should he serve as a clarion voice for bold change? And now, as the Vatican grapples with the dawn of artificial intelligence and its implications for faith, leadership and humanity, the nature of the next pope's guidance becomes even more vital. The Church stands at the threshold of a new era, and the world is watching, perhaps more closely than ever before. Modern conclaves are no longer impervious to outside forces. The Vatican's recent embrace of artificial intelligence for digital tours and ethical frameworks reflects a church wrestling with technology's promise and peril. Yet, as Pope Francis warned, artificial intelligence also casts a shadow of evil, a reminder that innovation can be manipulated, just like power within the conclave. Meanwhile, high-profile sex abuse scandals and, smear campaign fears have even prompted calls to slow down the vote to ensure integrity. And global crises, from wars to pandemics, shape cardinals' priorities, pressing them to choose a pope capable of moral leadership in these turbulent times. Behind the closed doors, money and influence still find routes into Vatican corridors. Investigations reveal how wealthy patrons and political actors cultivate access, subtly shaping the Catholic narrative and, by extension, the Conclave's stakes. On the geopolitical front, Italy's hosting of the G7 summit, with the Pope as an invited speaker, underscores how governments vie for Vatican endorsement on global issues like artificial intelligence, ethics and climate policy. In this 21st century election, power, faith and finance converge as never before, ensuring that whoever emerges into the white smoke will owe more than a spiritual oath. Pope Francis will be celebrated foremost for his unwavering humility, choosing a simple white cassock and forgoing the papal trappings that defined his predecessors. He elevated the poor and marginalized to the forefront of Catholic teaching, from migrants and refugees to LGBTQ+ individuals, earning global respect for his advocacy on behalf of the vulnerable. His landmark encyclical Laudato Si positioned climate change as a moral imperative, forging a new alliance between faith and environmentalism unseen in modern papal history. Finally, by appointing 3 women as official Vatican ministers and over 110 new cardinals, many from the global south, he diversified the Church's leadership and challenged centuries-old Eurocentrism. With 108 of 135 cardinal electors appointed by Francis, there is numerical strength for his agenda to continue. Yet those appointees span the ideological spectrum, including influential conservatives who once openly accused him of heresy over divorce and LGBT outreach. Analysts warn of a potential anti-Francis backlash, where traditionalists might recalibrate church teaching on family and sexuality, even as reformers push to protect synodality and climate action. The new pope will thus be judged by 2 tests: whether he upholds Francis's pastoral tone or reverts to doctrinal rigidity, and whether he can bridge internal divisions or deepen the wounds long exposed during Francis's tenure. Beneath the white smoke lies a quiet fear that another papacy defined by polarizing reforms or reactionary retrenchment could fracture the faithful further. Francis's own rollercoaster legacy, celebrated for social justice yet criticized for uneven implementation on abuse and financial transparency, serves as a cautionary tale for his successor, who must avoid both keyboard warriors in the media and hardline prelates scheming in the shadows. The Church's survival may hinge on a leader who can nurture unity without sacrificing the bold vision that made Francis a global moral voice. So, in conclusion, here is a step-by-step breakdown from Sede Vacante to Habemus Papam. As soon as Pope Francis dies, the Camerlengo formally verifies his passing, breaks the fisherman's ring, and the Church enters Sede Vacante, meaning, the seat being vacant, which freezes all papal authority until a new pontiff is elected. A mourning period follows, during which the College of Cardinals holds daily general congregations to organize the conclave logistics and, discuss the Church's pressing needs. So only cardinals under the age of 80 may vote. At present, that's 135. They all gather in Rome, surrendering any means of outside communication, and, they take a solemn oath of secrecy right there in the Domus Sancti Marthae. On the morning of the conclave, the doors of the Sistine Chapel are bolted and sealed with wax, which, really symbolizes total isolation. The cardinal electors then process in, one by one, all under the watchful eyes of Michelangelo's frescoes. After Mass, the first vote happens that very afternoon. From then on, there can be up to 2 ballots in the morning and 2 more in the afternoon each day, until a 2/3 plus 1 majority is finally achieved. Each cardinal folds his ballot, swears to vote for the one he deems best, and drops it into a chalice. The ballots are burned inside the chapel. If damp straw is added, the smoke is black, meaning no. If dry, it's white, meaning yes. The world, watches the chimney for the signal. Once a candidate secures the required majority, the dean asks him twice, "Do you accept your canonical election as Supreme Pontiff, and by what name shall you be called?" Only after he answers both does the process move forward. White smoke drifts above the chapel. Moments later, the Cardinal Protodeacon appears on St. Peter's Basilica balcony to declare Habemus Papam, announcing the new Pope to a world waiting in breathless anticipation. This is the Griot Chronicles, where we unveil the secrets history left behind. If you found this journey insightful, like, share and subscribe for more untold stories of power, mystery and legacy. Because history doesn't just repeat itself, it whispers.